Candidate Nikki Haley. Good to see you again, Governor.
Thanks
Ambassador,
so much.
whichever title you choose.
Thank you. Welcome to Iowa.
You're looking for president. I know. So let's talk about the new poll before we get to policy. It's got you in second place. That matches the Suffolk poll that came out just a couple of days ago. You guys have very carefully managed expectations here. Do you feel like this second place strong poll showing now puts a target on your back? Does it give you higher expectations that if you don't hit second place, it's going to be seen as a loss leaving here?
Well, I think we've always had a target on our back because we've been the one moving up. Everybody else is going down, and that's a great thing. But the real poll, you know, is on caucus day. And what we've said is we just want to come out of Iowa looking strong. We want to come out of New Hampshire strong. We want to come out of South Carolina strong. This is, you know, continuing state by state and trying to get every single vote that we can. And we're not going to stop until that very last second.
So let's talk about inside the Des Moines poll. There's some information about enthusiasm. 49% of those who say they intend to support President Trump said they were extremely enthusiastic. When that same question was put to your supporters, 9% said they were extremely enthusiastic. When we polled about, are you definitely going to show up, you fall behind both DeSantis and Trump. Given the weather situation here and these issues about enthusiasm, do you worry it could impact how you finish on Monday?
I'm not worried. Look, I'm not a political pollster. I'm not going to worry about the numbers. What I am going to say is the momentum and the energy on the ground is strong. We feel it. We know that this is moving in the right direction. And to me, the only numbers that matter are the ones that we're going up and everybody else went down. That shows that we're doing the right thing. I think Iowans will decide intensity tomorrow. We're just excited that tomorrow's the day. It's go time. And we're going to keep crisscrossing the state. We've done that for days now. We're going to keep doing it. And I think the intensity will show tomorrow.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the issues you'd have to confront right away if you were to become president. Taiwan had elections this weekend, and they chose the person that seemed the most U.S. friendly, the one that China did not want. Axios puts it this way. The Chinese government is likely to ratchet up its pressure campaign against Taiwan. In response to the election of a politician Beijing is called a separatist through and through. President Biden was asked about the election yesterday. Here's what he said. Hard to hear him, but you can see there he said, we do not support independence. So first of all, do you think that this election is going to increase tensions with China? And how would you deal with the Taiwan issue as president?
Well, I think, first of all, big blow to China, without question. They had been intimidating with drones. They had been intimidating with all types of election misinformation, trying to change the results. And democracy won. Freedom won. And the people of Taiwan showed that they want to continue living the way they're living. And so that's the key, is America should always support democracy and freedom. And I think that's why we'll continue to support Taiwan.
Well, we have a backlog of orders. We talk about this a lot on the show about weaponry, munitions, all kinds of things. I mean, billions of dollars in back orders to Taiwan. What would you do as president to signal, we see you, we know the threat you're facing, we're going to make sure you get what you've ordered from us?
Well, first of all, look at the system. I mean, the problem that is happening is Department of Defense plays too many favorites with defense contractors. We need to go and clean it up. Even in our Department of Defense, they've got too many programs they don't need to have. They're not mission focused. We need to look at modernizing. First, take care of us. Modernize, make sure that we're focused not on the old wars like the generals are now, land, air, and sea, but about artificial intelligence, cyber, space, hypersonic missiles, submarines. Those are the things we need to focus on going forward. Once we take care of us, our goal is to make sure that they get what they need, not just from us, but from the alliance. You're making sure all of our partners that love democracy and freedom, that they're all pulling their weight. This doesn't have to be U.S. only. This has to be a team effort. And there are a lot of democracies that want to see Taiwan continue to be free.
So let's turn to Israel. Governor DeSantis said this week that while you were at the UN as our ambassador, that you backed a two-state solution. Here's what Politico said at that time in 2017. It said, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley says the United States absolutely supports a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and anyone who thinks it doesn't is in error. That was the Trump administration's position. What would a Haley administration's position be given the events of October 7th and beyond?
I mean, you have to look at October 7th and to see those people beheaded and those babies burned alive and those girls raped and their naked bodies dragged through the streets of Gaza. What did they say? Death to Israel, death to America. What we need to know is Israel is a bright spot in a tough neighborhood. We need to make sure they have whatever they need whenever they need it. We need to make sure we eliminate Hamas, and we need to do whatever it takes to bring the hostages home. In order to do that, we need to let Israel do what they need to do to be safe. This is the problem I have with Biden. He goes and says he supports something, but then he wants to control it. That's not what you do. You have to be a friend, and that means allow them to make the decisions they want to make. What Israel needs to know is they're not going to have terrorists on their border. What Israel needs to know is there will no longer be a threat coming out of Gaza. That's what they're trying to do. We need to support, not control what's happening in Israel.
But a two-state solution? Is there any scenario in which that works?
What I saw at the United Nations was it's not that Israel didn't want a two-state solution. The Palestinians didn't want a two-state solution. Every agreement that was put on the table, the Palestinians rejected right off the bat. The Palestinian Authority is not serious about a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution. They want to eliminate Israel, and they don't want Israel to exist. You've got to look at this in realities, not in political scenarios. This is the fact that the Palestinians don't want Israel to exist. Israel has come to the table more times than they need to, and at the end of the day, look at what happened on October 7th. Israel needs to defend and protect their people in every way possible.
Let's talk about a domestic issue. We've talked about this. You have said we've got to have Social Security reform. Anybody who looks at the actuarial tables and the estimates knows that has to happen. You've talked about younger people on the front end of the system are probably going to face a later retirement age. Here's what your former boss said about where you are on this.
Nikki Haley wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. Nikki Haley wanted to raise the age from 65 to 74.
All right, you haven't put a number on it. Will you? What's the age?
Well, first of all, he's not telling the truth there, and it cracks me up because he's actually reported as saying he wanted to raise it to 70. I've never said I wanted to raise anybody's. What I've said is Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 8. Every one of the candidates is saying they're not going to touch it. If you say you're not going to touch it, that means you're going to leave office, and everybody's going to have at least a 23% benefits cut. The accountant in me is saying, don't wait for that to happen. Get in front of it. So what we should do is America should keep her promises. People should not live in fear. We will go to those like my kids in their 20s and say, we're going to raise the retirement age to reflect life expectancy for you. Instead of cost of living increases, let's do increases based on inflation so it's more accurate. Limit benefits on the mega wealthy. They don't want the checks anyway. And let's expand Medicare Advantage plans. Seniors love the competition, and it's good for them. When we do that, we'll see what we're dealing with. You don't have to take from people, but you don't deny like the rest of the opponents are doing. That's a mistake.
But a later retirement age potentially is part of that.
For those in their 20s. For those in their 20s is what we want to do. Everybody that's paid in that has been promised, their promises should be kept. We don't need to touch theirs.
All right, quickly, we've talked about how tough the campaign trail is. You're doing it in a very unique way in that your spouse is deployed while you're doing this. How is he, and what would his role be if he became president?
Thank you for asking. You know, he's like my right arm. I feel like, you know, he's missing. But look, this is what military families do every day. I'm no different. We didn't know that he was going to get deployed, but we're so proud of him. And, you know, when I'm awake, he's asleep. When he's awake, I'm asleep. And thank God for him and the military men and women. We get to FaceTime about once a week. But I text him, and he responds when I'm sleeping, and he texts, and it's vice versa. But, you know, what I'll tell you is when I watched him and those 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they'd never been, all in the name of protecting America. They're willing to sacrifice their lives and their families because they still believe in this amazing experiment that is America. So if they're willing to sacrifice for us there, shouldn't we be willing to fight for America here? Because we have a country to save. I'm doing this, and Michael's doing this. Both of us are doing our own service because we don't want our kids to live this way. We can't keep going down this path that the country's going on. The chaos is uncontrollable. And you don't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. We have got to make sure that we can't be a country in disarray and a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We won't survive it. That's why we have got to put these names of Biden and Trump in the past and look forward with new solutions in the future so that our kids will have a better life.
All right, Governor, our thanks to you and all the military families out there, and we'll see you out there for the next 24 hours as you try to close the deal.
Thanks so much. It's fun.
Okay. All right, Republican.